Question: is the person offering prayer behind an imam required to recite al-Fatiha? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka nabiyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. There is some debate amongst the scholars concerning this issue. The well-documented opinions basically boil down to three. Number one, the opinion held by the scholars of the Shafi'i madhab, qawl al-Shafi'iyya, reciting al-Fatiha is mandatory upon the ma'moom, the one being led by an imam, in every rak'ah, unit of every prayer, whether that prayer be entirely audible, like al-Fajr, entirely silent, like al-Dhuhr and al-Asr, or partly audible and partly silent, like al-Maghrib and al-Isha. They support this view with the authentic reports which carry the meaning La salata liman lam yaqra bi fatihat al-kitab. A prayer in which al-Fatiha is not recited is invalid, like the hadith of Ubadah, collected by Bukhari Muslim, and Abi Hurairah, collected by Muslim. In the hadith of Abi Hurairah, he was asked, Inna nakunu wara al-imam. We offer prayers behind the imam. What should we do in that case? And Abu Hurairah, he responded, Iqra biha fi nafsik. Read by mouthing the words and reading it to yourselves. The second opinion, is the opinion held by Abu Hanifa, al-Thawri, Ibn Uyayna, and a large number of the scholars of al-Kufa, al-Iraq. And that is that reciting al-Fatiha is not required of the ma'moom, the one being led by an imam, in any rak'ah, unit of any prayer, and the reading of the imam suffices him. And they support this view by the hadith collected by Ahmad ibn Majah on the authority of Jabir radiallahu anhu, wherein the Prophet was reported to have said, Man kan lahu imamun fa qira'atuhu lahu qira'ah. Whoever is being led by an imam, the imam's recitation suffices him. The third opinion is the opinion of az-Zuhri, Malik, Ibn al-Mubarak, Ahmad, and Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. And that is that the ma'moom should recite al-Fatiha in the silent and silent portions of the congregational prayers, but should not recite when the imam is reciting audibly. In that case, he should listen. This view is supported by the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-A'raf, where he said, وَإِذَا قُرِيَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. When the Quran is being recited, be quiet and listen attentively so that you may receive mercy. And Imam Ahmad said, the scholars are in agreement that it refers to the recitation in prayer. So the ayah, when it says, وَإِذَا قُرِيَ الْقُرْآنُ, Imam Ahmad said, أَجْمَعُوا عَلَى أَنَّ الْمُرَادِ قِرَاءَتُهُ فِي الصَّلَاةِ أو القراءة في الصلاة. And Imam Ahmad said the scholars are in agreement that it refers to the recitation in prayer. So when are we supposed to be quiet? When the Quran is being recited by the Imam leading us in prayer. Also the hadith, this opinion, is supported by the hadith collected by Muslim on the authority of Abi Musa, and also collected by the collectors of as-Sunan, at-Tirmidhi, Abu Dawood, an-Nasa'i, and Ibn Majah, on the authority of Abi Hurairah, in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّمَا جُعِلَ الْإِمَامُ لِيُؤْتَمَّ بِهِ فَإِذَا كَبَّرَ فَكَبِّرُوا وَإِذَا قَرَأَ فَأَنصِتُوا. He said, the Imam has only been appointed to be followed. So if he says Allahu Akbar, then say Allahu Akbar. And if he recites, then be quiet and listen. Allah knows best. The most valid of these opinions is the third and final one for the following reasons. Number one, the hadith of Jabir is weak. The hadith which was used by al-Hanafiya or the Abu Hanifa and other scholars from al-Kufa, the hadith which says that if you have an imam and that imam is reciting, if you're following an imam, then that imam's recitation suffices you and you don't have to recite. That hadith is weak, as mentioned by Ibn Kathir in his tafsir, and therefore cannot be admitted as evidence, making the opinion based upon it discredited. The second reason why we say the third opinion is the most authentic one, or the most valid one, or the one most worthy of being followed, is that following the first opinion would require us to ignore Allah's command and that of his messenger to be quiet while the imam recites. So we have the qawl al-Shafi'iyya that says recite regardless, whether the imam is reciting or not. But then how do we apply, how do we practice, how do we obey the command of Allah and his messenger that when the imam is reciting, to be quiet? If we follow the first opinion, we can't follow the ayah and the hadith. The third reason why we say that this opinion is the most valid one is that the third opinion permits us to act by both the hadith which says, La salata liman lam yaqra bi fatihatil kitab, there's no prayer for the one who does not recite al-Fatiha. We can follow that hadith in the silent and silent portions of prayers. And by the aforementioned verse, we can also act in accordance with the verse in the hadith used by Ahmed and other scholars to support their opinion. And we can follow that ayah and that hadith in the audible and audible portions of prayer. So we can actually follow both of the proof texts, or both set of proof texts. We can follow the first set of proof texts, the one that tell us to recite. We can follow those in the silent prayers and the silent portions of the audible prayers. And we can follow the second set of proof texts, the ones that tell us to be quiet when the imam is being recited, when the imam is reciting. We can follow those in the audible prayers or the audible portions of the prayers, which are both audible and silent. And the general rule of thumb for the jurists of Islam is that applying two or more proof texts, they say, al-amalu bidalilain awla min ihmal ahadihima, that applying two or more proof texts is always superior to applying one of them and disregarding others. Accordingly, an opinion that makes harmony between the adillah, the proof texts, and allows us to practice all of the relevant proofs is the worthiest of being followed, and Allah knows best. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.